Hello everyone, welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. Today is Thursday, August 26th. Thank you for being here for the top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. We start off with the latest news about the attack in Afghanistan at the Kabul Airport. We now know that several United States Marines were killed and multiple were injured. This is according to an unofficial report from a U.S. official. We don't know if these deaths have been included in the Russian toll that was previously reported. Here's what we know about that. At least 13 people were killed and 15 have been wounded, according to Russian officials, related to what happened at the Kabul airport today. Here's what we know. 2 suicide bombers and gunmen attacked crowds of Afghans that had been flocking to the airport today. It was a scene of desperation that changed into one of absolute horror. Now, these are in the days after an airlift, the few days before fleeing the Taliban taking over Afghanistan, as the U.S. leads up to that August 31st deadline to depart the country. Now, a U.S. official said that the attack was believed to have been carried out by the Islamic State group. Now, the IS affiliate in Afghanistan is far more radical than the Taliban, who recently took control of the country in a very quick succession, and the Taliban has condemned the attack today on the Kabul airport. Western officials warned of this major attack, urging people to leave the airport, but that advice was not followed by Afghans that are trying to escape the country, desperate to escape the country in the last few days of the American-led evacuation before the U.S. officially ends its presence again after having been there for 20 years. That ends on August 31st, so early next week. Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby confirmed the attacks today and said that there were casualties, including among the members of the military, but didn't give an official figure. We're still waiting for information on that. He said that one of the explosions was near an airport entrance and another was a short distance away by a hotel. Now, American officials have said that information is still coming in. They're trying to determine exact numbers of casualties. So again, all we have now are the numbers from the Russian officials. And even as the area was hit, this should show you what the scene of desperation is really like at the Kabul airport in Afghanistan. Evacuation flights continued to take off from that airport. So again, the only confirmation that we have right now are from Russian officials saying that 13 people were killed and 15 were wounded. We are not sure if that includes the U.S. Marines who have been reported to have been killed and the multiple who are reported to have been wounded. Back here in Northeast Ohio, another person is speaking out about the top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point, where a woman was recently injured. Rachel Hawes, 44 years old, of Swartz Creek, Michigan. She's still in the hospital with critical head injuries. That's according to her family, the latest information we got from them on Tuesday. So Whitney James, who is from Canton, has recently spoke out. She's reacting to the news. She was injured in 2004, so calling for this ride to be permanently closed. She said when she heard about this latest injury that happened earlier this month that she's angry about it. Now, it was back in July of 2004 that she and her friend were riding on the top Thrill Dragster. It was 1 year after it debuted. At that time, world's largest, tallest, and fastest roller coaster, 420 feet high, a top speed of 120 miles per hour. Well, the pair of them were among 4 people who were injured that day when they were struck by pieces of metal that sheared off the roller coaster's cable halfway through the ride. She said the riders were hit with metal, rubber, hot grease, and that she had some burns, and that at the end of the ride she turned around and she saw blood dripping from her friend's arms. She said it looked like a piece of paperclip had almost pierced the cartilage in his ear. Now, at that time, a park spokesperson said that all 4 of those people were treated at the amusement park's first aid station and then released, but 2 of them later got additional treatment of their own at a hospital. And then again in 2016, 2 people were injured when a launch cable detached from the top Thrill Dragster. Those injuries were not life-threatening. It was on August 14th when this latest person was hit with a steel L-shaped bracket that flew from the coaster, potentially traveling at its top speed. It wasn't clear from investigators at what point it detached from the ride and how quickly it was moving, but that's according to Dave Mirren, the chief ride inspector for the Ohio Department of Agriculture. As we get more updates on her condition, we will let you know. Now for the latest COVID-19 numbers here in Ohio, a big number today. Now, if you remember yesterday, there were 4,600 new reported cases. That was the largest number since January. Today, 5,395 new reported cases of COVID-19. This is as the Delta variant continues to sweep through the country. hospitalizing, in large part, people who are not vaccinated against COVID-19. The death toll here in Ohio related to COVID-19 is now at 20,729 people. Right now, there are 2,114 people in the hospital being treated for COVID. That's 28 less than yesterday. And there are 620 people currently in the ICU. That's out of those 2,114 people. That's one more person in the ICU than we saw yesterday. Now, as we see this happening, we are seeing more and more businesses, especially now that the Pfizer vaccine, which will be marketed as Comirnaty, now that it is fully approved by the FDA, since we've seen that, we're now seeing businesses actually requiring the COVID vaccine. And now we know that all employees of MetroHealth, that includes contractors and volunteers, will be required to get COVID-19 vaccinations. The hospital says this is for the safety of the patients this morning. Now, the deadline to get this done is October 30th, 2020. That means all new and current employees must be fully vaccinated or receive a medical or religious exemption by October 30th, 2020. Now, people who refuse the vaccine could face disciplinary action. That could include firing those people. And yes, this is perfectly legal to do. This is something that we have addressed several times in my Legally Speaking segment with Legal Analysis. Remember, I am a lawyer licensed in California and Ohio. Now, MetroHealth President and CEO Akram Boutros said that protecting caregivers against COVID-19 is the right thing to do. He went on to say this: "Our profession has been hailed as heroic because we were there when there was no protection from this disease. We cared for people and put ourselves at risk. We don't have to do that anymore. We can and have to take care of our patients and ourselves." Now, here's a warning related to COVID-19 that you probably haven't heard yet. AAA is saying don't hang face masks from the rearview mirror in your car. Now, when I first heard this, I was thinking to myself, do we really need to tell people this? But then I thought back to high school. I used to have a visor hanging from the rearview mirror in my car, but it wasn't something that I put on and took off every day. It was very ornamental. Seems like it would be a lot of work to put your mask on your rearview mirror and take it off every day, but regardless, AAA East Central is reminding people, do not hang items from your rearview mirror. That includes masks because it's a safety hazard. Hanging your mask from your rearview mirror could potentially block part of your field of vision, putting you and other people in danger. Makes a lot of sense. Here's what the representatives are saying. You should keep your masks in your glove boxes, your middle consoles, or your back seats to avoid this preventable hazard. I usually put mine in the middle console when I get in my car. There's a nice little tray in there. I just pop it in there, or in the passenger seat if I'm driving by myself. Now, here in Ohio, state law says that vehicle operators should have a clear and unobstructed view to the front or sides of their vehicle. AAA says that in a typical city, by the way, this is surprising. A motorist encounters as many as 200 different situations per mile. So you can see why you need to see what is going on. More news related to COVID-19. The Winking Lizard location at the Gateway will be temporarily closed due to staff shortages. Now, they said they're not sure when they will reopen, but they don't expect it to be before the end of the year. And they have had a lot of workers that just aren't available. They said they've been down about 150 employees. They said they don't have a set date to reopen again, but they are offering all of those employees positions at other Winking Lizard Tavern locations. So they do ask that when you go to your favorite Winking Lizard Tavern location, which will not be at the Gateway, that's closing, by the way, following the Tribe game on Sunday, August 29th. That'll be the last day that they're open. They ask that you be kind and give a little bit of grace. People are moving around and they are just short-staffed, and they're so short-staffed, by the way, and supply shortages are such an issue that they're not even going to be able to have some of their seasonal menu items that they typically like to have. So that's the latest news from the Winking Lizard Tavern at the Gateway area. Now, Jake Paul, we know, is fighting Tyron Woodley on Sunday at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, but what's next for Jake Paul after that? Could he potentially fight Conor McGregor? That's been his dream fight. He's talked about it. He's feuded publicly with Conor McGregor, the UFC superstar, especially after that Ben Askren boxing exhibition earlier this year. So I asked him on my 3 Things to Know podcast, is that the next fight for you? And he said he doesn't think it's the next fight, but they are talking. They do want it to happen at some point, but what his team likes to do is take the fights one at a time and then reassess and see what happens from there. Now, I also asked him if we would ever see a Jake Paul-Logan Paul fight. He said they haven't ruled it out, but their parents definitely don't want him to do it. You could see why their parents don't want them to do that. It was definitely an interesting conversation with Jake Paul, YouTube star, Westlake native. Check that out at wkyc.com/3thingsto know. Another thing you should check out, there is a place in Cleveland Heights called Quintana's Speakeasy. It's got elements of the day spa, elements of the barbershop, and then if you know the right button to push, it turns into a secret speakeasy. It's a converted 1920s colonial house. You will feel right at home. It's beautifully crafted. Our Jasmine Monroe checked it out. Check out more of that at wkyc.com. It's a really special space, and they have just been able to reopen recently. Now, speaking of other sports, the Cleveland Browns probably not going to head into this 2021 season with a contract extension for Baker Mayfield. That's what we're hearing from ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. He said it doesn't seem likely. Now, his fifth-year option has been picked up, so he will be with the Browns through the 2022 season, and it does seem that the Browns have made it clear that they do believe Baker Mayfield can be the long-term answer at quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. So there is a strong sense of faith there, but they may not be able to agree to terms between now and Cleveland's season opener against the Kansas City Chiefs. That's on September 12th, so don't be surprised about that. And before I let you go here, one more thing to celebrate. It's National Dog Day. You know, I have to shout out Harry Winston the Puggle, my sweet little old man, my sweet little pup. Every day is Dog Day in Harry Winston's house. And I think that's probably true for all of our viewers. We'll be sharing some of your photos on What's New at 5 p.m. in the Trending Stories in the Clicking in Cleveland segment. So if you haven't yet set your photo of your pup in, make sure you do that and let me know, and we'll get that featured for you on What's New. That's it for your 3 News Now update today for Thursday, August 26th. I will see you back here tomorrow with more 3 News Now.